This is WM Watch's new vintage style beads of rice bracelet diver watch. That's actually an original design. Let's find out if this is worth the price tag of under 150 US dollars. What's up everybody, my name is Koda and welcome back to God Tier Watches, and today we are doing none other than another review of a WM Watches vintage style diver watch. WM Watches has kindly sent over this watch in which I can say whatever I want in the review and provide good feedback for them. And this is actually something I've been eyeing on myself because I'm a sucker for beads of rice bracelet styles, so I'm glad that WM Watches has tapped into a vintage style bracelet instead of just like your typical oyster bracelet or just your Jubilee bracelet, as a matter of fact. But if this is your first time watching here, welcome. We do top 10s, reviews and discussions, so if that's something you're interested in, hit the subscribe and follow for more. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty everyone, this is the WM watch box that it comes in, and it is just a simple rectangular box that it comes in with the watch case in here with a little box again, manuals. I did have a toolkit here, but something went wrong and I kind of snapped it, so that's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, that's all pretty much you need. The real show here today is obviously going to be the watch. We don't need anything else within the watch box. So yeah, very simple stuff. It does come with a toolkit, but yeah, I broke it. Whoopsie. Alright, let's check out this watch and get into the dimensions. Woo! Look at this, guys. What are your first thoughts? Let's get into the dimensions of this WM181, shall we? Comes in this case diameter of 41 millimeters, but as we'll mention further out, it actually doesn't fit like a 41. It actually fits more like a 39-40 for me. Weight-wise, it's 140 grams with all the links on, which you're definitely going to feel the wrist presence of this guy, but yeah, it's pretty nice here. Lug to lug of 47.1 millimeters, which is actually quite short considering it's a case diameter of 41. So it actually fits a bit shorter because of that. A lug width of 20 millimeters, which is quite standard, good sizing there, and a thickness of 12.3 millimeters with that one. Overall, this watch is nicely sized. I don't think it's a 41 millimeter. You'll see in the wrist shots later on that it doesn't actually fit like a 41. It doesn't feel too big. For reference, I have a 6.25 inch wrist size, so it's on the smaller end. But it still fits me great, so don't let the case diameter of 41 millimeters put you off if you actually do like this design. Let's talk about the case finishing of this guy. So, case finish includes a mix of polishing on the face of this watch and the bezel just around, and consistent fine brushing on the side of the watch here. The case design itself is quite standard, nothing special really. It's got no crown guard here, but the glass does feature an anti-reflective sapphire crystal. But on the back of the case, you get a exhibition case back, but it's only a mineral glass over here. So yeah, would have liked to seen a double sapphire sandwich, but alas, it compromises with a screw down crown that ensures the 200 meters of water resistance there. And it is signed with the WM Watches logo there. Overall, with this case design and specs provided, I think it suits a vintage inspired diver watch. And yeah, I like the overall case. It's quite simple. Nothing can go wrong with it, really. And you're probably wondering about the bezel action on this guy, so let's hear this one. The watch comes in this ceramic black bezel in my case for this one, and obviously it follows this vintage style with this 15, 30, 45, and just the increments of it. Most modern bezels nowadays don't come in with these numerals on the bezel. They actually just come with the indices instead to give it a more modern look. So I like how they kind of followed this theme here. Now, if you've been here for quite some time, you're probably over this movement by now. It is none other than the NH35. Here's the spec sheet again. 41 hours of power reserve with 21,600 beats per hour. AliExpress brands abuse this for good reasons. It's affordable, A, and B, it's reliable. It's simple as that, really. Next up is probably my favorite part of this entire watch. It is going to be the bracelet and the clasp. Now, I actually quite like the bracelet that's been chosen with this watch, as it's my favorite type of bracelet. This is none other than the beads of rice bracelet. Now, the reason why I like it is because it features these thin, shiny, polished links that give this watch like a more sophisticated look, and it provides an interesting light play essentially. Additionally, the bracelet features a female end link here, which provides better drape and feels more comfortable on the wrist with great articulation here. The bracelet's end link also conforms nicely to the curvature of the watch case, providing no sharpness, and can be reassured that nothing will get caught on. Because a lot of cheap watches, their bracelets can be a bit sharp to the touch, but this is great. No sharpness at all, so good stuff, WM watches. Now if we flip this watch, looking at the back of the clasp here, it's quite standard at this price point. It features a very minimal WM logo there. I'm not sure if you can see that there, but very small, etched on right there. Honestly, this brace surprised me because I wasn't expecting much at this price point with this beads of rice because, you know, it's quite cheap. They could have been lazy and just stuck to the oyster bracelet, but instead they went with a vintage theme of a dive watch and went with the comfortable beads of rice bracelet. So it looks very nice for the price point. I'm actually surprised. It's under $150 by the way. Some beads of rice bracelets on the market cost probably more than the watch itself alone. So yeah, very good value for money for sure. And last but not least is going to be the dial of this watch. Now something to praise for this exact model, the WM181, is it's not a homage or a clamage by any means, which is, you know, a great start for AliExpress watchmaking. And I do really appreciate taking that step of designing an original or even just an inspired design rather than keyboard shortcutting watch designs, because these take time and effort and care to make these. So I really do appreciate that. And we're heading in a great direction when we're shifting to more original designs. So AliExpress is going to be more competitive compared to just the whole industry of watches really. As far as the dial goes, it features Lume on the indices and handsets, which I'll show you right after this. But very much just a flat profile dial there. No texture to it with this one, or no sunburst. It's very much a matte black texture, you can see there. Has a date window on the 3 o'clock position with a very minimal text at the 6 o'clock position that just says automatic in red text and 200 meters / 660 feet, utilizing a white text in that one. Now, if they had just gone with the black and white dial, I think this would have looked even plainer than it actually already is. So I'm glad that they've added some red color onto the indices to give it a pop of color. These aren't just printed, there's a slight bit of texture that I could see. So it is a bit elevated. So I think they might have applied it through paint. I'm not exactly too sure. Personally, the dial looks okay. I do appreciate this watch dial being a original design, but if we look at the whole range of dials that exists on the market, this watch dial lacks the oomph of what makes a watch look great, like having depth with different heights of the indices, or just like different depths and layers to the watch with texture on the dial even. So yeah, personally, I love my watches with a bit of depth and texture, and instead this does kind of give a bit more of like a children's watch feel to it. But I think if you just add a bit more texture or add a bit more height to the dial, I think it'll instantly create a better look to it. Even having a metal WM logo instead would be great, instead of just a printed dial here, because it does give it a very flat look to it. But what do you guys personally think of the dial? Do you like it or do you hate it? Let me know in the comments section down below. We haven't forgot about the handsets. I actually quite like the handsets. It's very simple, but I think it works very well because it contrasts with the blocky indices here with the rectangular baton like indices, and it contrasts it with the sharp sword hand style instead. Now I've had my fair share of being harsh to WM watches with their Lume, so let's compare how this goes with the other watch models and really see if it meets the standard of a dive watch and whether we'd be able to survive a dive by looking at the time, or if we'll be drowning and not be able to tell the time at all. So let's go. Alright, this is the Lume test for the WM181. I didn't even know that the pip at the 12 o'clock position had a blue lume to it. Everything else on the bezel has no lume with this one, and the rest of the indices are going to be green. As we're doing the time lapse of this Lume test, you can see that the lume, yeah, I don't know. I think it's better than what it was that I have reviewed before in the past, but I don't think it's still great. I think when you see brands that are a lot cheaper, like Addy's Dive, providing better lube quality than anyone else that I've seen with that price range, Lume should be an essential for a dive watch. So for the Lume to not be great on a dive watch is a bit concerning. But I assume most people aren't taking it for diving, which is okay. But saying that it's a dive watch, but the Lume not being great, it's jarring, I think. I'm a bit disappointed, but it is a bit better than what they've done in the past, but still not a big enough improvement to say that they're king of the budget brands yet. So just more feedback for you guys, Welly Merc. I hope you guys take this into consideration. And I do see new models of Welly Merc watches coming in, so I'll be keen to review them to see if their Lume has gotten better and if they take our feedback into consideration, because that's what great brands do at the end of the day. Lume was a bit disappointing, which is a bit unfortunate, but all that's left to really do now is the wrist shots. Roll the clip. What do you guys think of this WM181 watch? Personally, I think it's a great watch. I think the best part about it being the bracelet. I'm just a sucker for beads of rice bracelet. I'm not sure if it is for you, but I like the change of instead of the usual oyster bracelet and the jubilee bracelet. While the design of this watch is original, I appreciate the design. However, it's not exactly my taste. The 41mm should definitely not put you off if you have a smaller wrist, because I mean, it fits me quite nicely there because of the short lug to lug as well. Personally, I just find the dial to be a bit tacky, but if they added a bit more texture or raised some indices, I think it would definitely be a killer of a watch. I would wear it more often. If you do want this watch though, I'll leave it in the link in the description. There's various colors to choose from. There's some nice summer colors to choose. I just went for a boring black because I didn't really personally like the other colors that were featured, but you might like it instead. Anyways, hope you have a good rest of your day or night, wherever you guys are from. Thank you for watching God Tier Watches, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.